They say a broken cuckoo clock is right twice a day. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Cuckoo. This is a movie that just came out in theaters back in August and is already on digital. I'm actually surprised it's on digital so soon, but the instant I realized it was, it's like I have to see this. This is a donation reward for Venom, and is is a movie I've been wanting to see since I first heard about it because it stars Hunter Schafer. If you don't know, Hunter Schafer is a main star of the series Euphoria alongside Zendaya. And she also was in the anime film Belle by Mamoru Hosoda. She played Ruka in that. We reacted to Belle, actually. And she's even going to be in the upcoming Kojima game OD. So she's starting to make a name for herself. She's still young. She's only 25 years old. She doesn't have a huge amount of credits under her name, but she's making a name for herself and becoming a really prominent actress. I mean, for Euphoria alone, honestly. And the reason I'm excited for her being in this and being the star of this film is because Hunter Schafer is a trans woman. She is a very mainstream, popular trans woman, which unfortunately you don't see enough of in Hollywood still. Like, there are definitely some that are out there, some big name trans women who are out there, such as Susie Izzard and um, Laverne Cox and whatnot. But it's still a huge minority in the industry. And it really sucks. But the fact that even for as few roles as she's had so far, Hunter Schafer is becoming a extremely well-known name, that people know who she is and that people are excited to see more with her, that's a big deal. That's really huge and really important. Now, outside of Hunter Schafer being the star of this film, I have no fucking clue what this movie's about. My excitement for this film was based entirely on her. I've been wanting to see this because of her role in this, because I'm just excited to support and just see content from, trans creators and actors and whatnot. So that's the appeal of this for me. I don't know what the plot is at all. I obviously it's a horror movie. It's October. We're doing horror films. Even if this isn't part of the Halloween special, it's still a horror film for October. That's all I know really about it, is that it's a horror film and it stars Hunter Schafer. I don't know the plots in any way, shape, or form. I don't know who else might be in this. But I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely interested to see what this is and to see exactly how good it might be, because I've heard good things. I've heard people are really enjoying this. But again, that also surprises me that it's already on digital. Like, it's not on streaming. It's only on premium digital. But the fact that it is surprises me. Because it's like, if this movie is getting good reviews, I've again been hearing good things about it. I would think it would be in theaters longer, but maybe it just wasn't getting the sales. Maybe not enough people heard about it, and just the good reviews it was getting was just not a lot of people in general. That's always possible. Maybe it just wasn't getting enough attention, which unfortunately could be the case. I feel like this could have definitely gotten a lot more attention, though, because of Hunter Schafer being in it and how popular she is. But sometimes movies, especially if they're indie films, which I don't know if this is, but I feel like it possibly is. I feel like movies like that could definitely just get very little marketing and attention. So unfortunately, it just seems like this is going to be one of those films that doesn't quite get as big as it should. But we'll see for sure. We'll see. And hopefully I'm proven wrong. Hopefully it ends up becoming bigger. Hopefully it ends up getting a lot better reviews. We'll see. But we're going to check this out, see what this film has in store for us, and hope for the best. So let us get this going. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. We also have gaming content every day of the week over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Horizon Forbidden West every other day, Baldur's Gate 3 every day. Every Wednesday and Sunday, we have Beyond Two Souls, and we have Poppy Playtime on Saturdays. Don't forget to click the link in the description below to get to today's video. I redirect everything due to copyright. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video for more awesome content like this in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get to today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So there's a lot to discuss in this with this film, and there's going to be a lot that I will probably either forget to talk about, stuff I'll probably miss talking about, stuff I probably missed while watching the movie in general, etc., etc. But so the main gist of it is that this guy Erkoenig and his associates have this entire place set up as a breeding ground, as a sort of nature preserve for these human-like creatures that inseminate unsuspecting women, force them to give birth to, and raise the child until it's time for them to come back to this resort, for the mother to take back the child and continue the species. This girl we saw at the beginning, I did find out was the one who was killed while Hunter Schafer's character, Gretchen, was in the pool house area, the area she was trapped in by Erkoenig. The one that was killed in there, yeah, that was the girl at the very beginning in the cold open, who ran away from her house and everything after, going through all that crazy shit. So it seems like what happens is they're raised up and then they're taken back and they're basically kind of converted, like they're activated and they become like fully these creatures. The humanity they have from being raised this way is completely wiped away. It's lost. It's gone. And with this entire plan, of course, like years ago, on the honeymoon of Gretchen's father and his presumably second wife, though I guess we don't know that for sure, could be further along than that, but at least second wife. They, that's how they came to give to I'm trying to think of the word and I can't think of it. Don't you hate when that happens? But that's when they got busy, and that's how Alma ended up coming to be. So now, like, I don't think it said how old Alma was. Like, she seems like she's probably, like, what, 6? Maybe 7? But, like, all this time later and everything, they come back, like, 5, 6, 7 years later. Except this time, even though they were planned to come back, there is an unplanned wrench that Erkoenig wasn't expecting, and that's Gretchen. See, Gretchen's parents were divorced, and her mother ended up dying. I don't think it ever actually says how she died, but we know she died, and so So Gretchen ended up coming to live with her father. This was unexpected by Eric Koenig and his team, so they didn't know really what to do in this circumstance. They didn't know how to handle this. Eric Koenig ends up giving her a job because it kind of keeps her out of the way, and the ways he's trying to protect her, as I initially thought early on, was actually him trying to keep her away from these creatures, because she was the threat in his eyes to the creatures and their the plans that they were making. So he wasn't trying to protect Gretchen, he was trying to keep her away from the ones he was actually trying to protect. And that's why he was doing all of that. But then there ends up being another wrench thrown in with this officer. This former officer who was recently let go because he's investigating a case related to his late wife, who was killed through this insemination process. She ended up choking on her own vomit, which is, the vomiting is a part of this entire situation. All the women we've seen like vomiting throughout this, it's like they were victims of this. And unfortunately, if you're like, laying fully on your back and you vomit, you can end up choking on your vomit. We've seen this in various media, but it's a real thing as well. And that's what happened to his wife. So the cop's been investigating this, and he was let go because he was not supposed to be, because of personal interest. And unfortunately, the real cop in play, who was Beatrix's partner, he's working with Koenig, so he's a bad guy himself. Lovely. But yeah, shit's kind of crazy, and we find out the truth about everything. Find out the truth about Alma having been one of these. But the thing is, Alma is raised as human, so she's basically human outside of having the lack of ability to speak and having this hypnosis screech ability. Otherwise, she is human in her mind, in her thoughts, in her personality, and everything. And she could live a fully human life if not, like, reclaimed by her birth mother. Technically, she has two birth mothers, really. Technically, she has three birth parents because of how the insemination works. You have the what's referred to as the birth mother, who puts in like this slime-like substance into the carrying mother. The carrying mother is then like she has the egg inside of her, and the father then, through sex and all, fertilizes the egg. And so there's three birthing parents involved technically. They're all biologically Alma's parents, which is really interesting for a number of reasons. But in the end, Gretchen acknowledged Alma as her full sister, even though earlier in the film she wasn't. And there's a lot of other moving pieces in this, such as Ed, who's this other girl who's stopping by there and everything, who Gretchen starts a romantic relationship with. It's a really sudden romantic relationship, and it's clearly based on just this kind of magnetic connection they have. It's I wouldn't say lust, but they're definitely like just physically attracted to each other. I've said before, say it again, love at first sight does not exist. It's just a concept that does not exist because that's not how love works. But they definitely have like physical feelings towards each other, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And they're going to escape at one point, but they get in the crash when the Alma's birthing mother, actually, this woman, ends up getting in the way, and that causes even more problems. But at the end, we also see that Ed ends up returning and helps her and Alma get out of there, which is like, they're all just leaving. the parents are probably going to be really confused and scared and freaking out over what's happening and the fact that both of their daughters are now missing. It's like none of that's really coming to an answer because the movie ends with them leaving, but there's a lot of themes in this film, and I just know I'm going to miss some of them talking about this. But there's absolutely themes of motherhood. Like, that's unquestionable. There's themes of family, of trauma, of dealing with grief. There's themes of various types of illnesses, physical and mental illnesses, as well as just like kind of developmental disorders and whatnot. There's, I mean, slight themes of queer representation and stuff in this. It's not a massive point of the film, but it's in there. It exists. But probably the biggest theme that I took from this is the, how do I put this? The victimization of women, basically. Women being victimized by others, their autonomy, their rights, their bodies, in a way, being used by others, being taken from them, being stolen from them, and being treated as subjects and tools and whatnot. You see this with how Koenig views Alma, especially by the end, with how he sees her as basically a creature rather than a person. You see this with how Gretchen is viewed. You see this with how the entire nature of these creatures is showcased, with how like their entire thing is like, all of them are women, by the way, every single one. Like, the theming is pretty noticeable there, and for every single one, their humanity, their autonomy is taken from them once they're basically recalled by their, again, as the movie calls it, birthing mother, even though they have two birthing mothers, technically. And technically, the birthing mother is the one that gives birth. So, but you understand. There's definitely a lot of themes on autonomy and women's rights and reproductive rights and stuff like that. And there's one thing I'm actually a little surprised it didn't go into, but I don't know if the character, if Gretchen as a character is supposed to be trans, like the actress Hunter Schafer is. It never implies that she is. So I'm not sure, but I was almost kind of like thinking it was going to go that route, because I don't know, I just kind of like, I did assume. I will admit that was wrong of me to just assume. She's queer, we do know that. But I did kind of wrongly assume that she was also trans, which just may not be the case. Like, a trans actress can play a cis woman. Absolutely. So I shouldn't have just assumed, but what I'm talking about, just to give context, I was thinking that it was going to touch on the fact that Gretchen couldn't be inseminated, because it seemed like there was a point where the girl who came in, the one who was at the very beginning, the one who ended up being killed in the pool house, it looked for a second like she was going to try to inseminate Gretchen, but then Koenig stopped it and everything, and I was thinking that it was going to touch on the fact that she couldn't be inseminated because she's, trans. But again, I was assuming things and I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize. I shouldn't have just assumed. Even though I didn't vocalize that during the reaction or anything, I'm still just apologizing nonetheless because it was wrong of me to do. Um, but nonetheless, a lot of these themes are still prevalent here. And I feel like they're very noticeable. Like it's almost impossible to miss them. At the same time, the movie doesn't make them the focus. Like there's other movies out there where the themes will be like just like thrown at you. It's like they're gonna go like, oh, here, have this theme, have this theme, have that theme. But this movie doesn't do that. It's not subtle about the themes, but it doesn't like throw them in your face. It integrates them naturally in and allows them to speak for themselves. The movie's focus is still on the creepy nature of it, the horror, the frightening experiences, and confusing situations. There's a lot of mystery in this. It's not a mystery film by nature, but there is a lot of mystery as to what's actually happening. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of questioning, and you're trying to piece everything together as it goes. And you might get little pieces of it here and there, but I'd be surprised if most people like fully understood what was going on at any point. Because I feel like this movie's trying to make it so you don't. It's trying to throw you off at certain points with certain things, and you're probably supposed to think other things. Hell, Eric Koenig himself, before it fully reveals himself as a villain, I at least was extremely on the fence with him. I didn't know where he laid. I didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy because the movie was making it very unclear. Intentionally. You're supposed to be wary of him, but you're also supposed to see him as a potential ally. And the same goes for the former cop. I forgot what it said his name was. Ehrlich or something like that? Ehrlich? Something like... I don't remember. But he was very suspicious, questionable, and everything as well. He seemed almost deranged at times early on. He didn't seem trustworthy right away. So you had to wonder, what was going on? What was the deal? Was he a good guy? And you come to realize that while he's not as bad as Eric Koenig, he's not the best person either. Because of his trauma. And again, the trauma is very much one of the major themes of this. Between Gretchen losing her mother and everything she's going through, getting to see how, like, it continues to affect her throughout the film more and more, to the point of her having multiple breakdowns because of it, and the repetition of her sending these messages and listening to her mother's voice on the message, on the machine, even though, you know, she can't get a response. It's like it's a repeating part of the film, and even culminates with her finding out that Alma sent a message as well. And that leads into what ends up getting them both safe. So yeah, it's like, I really like what this movie did with its theming, but I also like what it did with its horror. It was scary and unnerving and creepy as fuck. Honestly, the first scene where we see this woman, where Gretchen's biking home, and you see the woman like chasing her, it's like, Jesus, that was freaky. Like, that was creepy as hell. And then there's certain scenes where it's like just something like Eric Koenig does is really just fucking weird. I like the scene where they're at the house and he's like there's the argument going on and he just like plays his flute and then gives this really cryptic weird answer, and she's like, you see this is fucking weird, right? It's like, that was almost kind of funny. It was like one of the only moments in this that was actually kind of like humorous. Because it's like Gretchen's pointing out, it's like, this shit's fucking weird. This shit's just really fucking weird. This dude, Eric Koenig, he's really fucking weird. And she's pointing it out, like, directly to her parents and everything, but also definitely to us, the audience, as if to like kind of say, it's like, you're seeing what I've been seeing, right? And it's so good. It's so good. And you even get moments of like questioning like other characters too, like the father. Like you wonder if the father's a good person or not, but you soon come to realize he's kind of shitty himself, and some of the stuff he does is really just not okay. Like the entire thing about selling the old house and everything, like without even having told Gretchen, when he knew, actively knew, that that was a source of comfort for her still. Like he deserved to be punched in the face for that. Abso-fucking-lutely. The stepmother, um, she didn't have a huge role to play. She was just kind of there for most of it. She was very dismissive though of Gretchen. She just really didn't treat Gretchen well at all. She wasn't like abusive or anything, but she didn't treat her well. And it's like seeing these characters and seeing how they interact, it's like you kind of see why Gretchen is kind of angsty, kind of emotional, kind of like just distant from everyone. But you also see that connection with Alma pretty early on, but also see her, like having beef with Alma because of various circumstances. And it's like, it gives this not conflicting, but nuanced view of people and how they interact and how circumstances and situations can cause various dynamics within various versions of families. And some things can't really be restored. Gretchen's relationship with her father and her stepmother are not restored by the end. In fact, I think that when she punches him and then like runs into her room and everything and has that big like breakdown, I think we only see the parents once after that, and Gretchen doesn't interact with them again after that. That's the last time we see them interact. The parents kind of become less of characters at that point. And so when Gretchen and Alma leave with Ed at the end, it's like you kind of wonder like what the parents are going to think, but at the same time you also understand that Gretchen and Alma are probably going to be in a much better situation away from them, because the parents were just not the best. And honestly, Gretchen and Alma deserve better. There's definitely a lot of themes and ideas in this that I probably did not even like notice. And I could probably like look online and find a lot of people saying various things about this and how they saw different themes and ideas. And I think this is the right kind of movie for that. I feel there's a lot that can be taken from this, from different perspectives and people who have been in different situations. And I like movies that do that, that can speak to different people in different ways. I think that's very much useful to have. Now, I want to touch on the acting. So, I think the acting was all really good. Everyone did a great job. Um, the two that obviously stood out the most would be Koenig, who was Dan Stevens, who was the guy in Abigail, by the way, and Hunter Schafer. They definitely stood out the most, and that might partially be because they were the main focuses. They were the big characters of the film. But I think they really sold their roles excellently. Alma's actress, this young girl, did a good job, but she didn't have enough of a spotlight to really like have time and moments to shine. The best point of acting for her was at the very end, like when she and Gretchen are protecting each other against Koenig and the officer. That's probably her best moment, but otherwise it's like she doesn't really do much, and because she doesn't say anything, there's not a lot that can be expressed through dialogue and whatnot with her as well. So there's not much to talk about there. The parents are good. Nothing great, nothing special. There's nothing that really stands out with them, but they're good. This other woman, this doctor, again, good. She doesn't stand out in any noticeable way. She doesn't have a big role to play, but she does good for the time she's on screen. And then there's the Homocuculidae, I think is what they were called. That's the only name we ever got for them, but I guess you could probably just call them cuckoos. The Homocuculidae, I think we only saw 2 of them, right? We saw the one woman, the main woman who was there most of the film, and then the girl. I believe it was only those 2, besides obviously Alma. And we saw a lot of other women who faced the potential of becoming or being inseminated, but never got to that point. So I think that those are the only 2 we actually saw. Both of those actresses who performed those roles did an absolutely excellent job. They did great. They really sold the creepiness, but also the victim side of things. Both of them were victims, and they probably were just like Alma at one point. I mean, the girl we know was. But at the end, I think what happened and what I was confused about when Gretchen pulled off the wig and was looking at her for who she was, it was kind of the first time this woman had been viewed as a person in forever, basically. It's the first time she's actually being viewed as just a person, a human being, rather than a creature. And that was the significance of that scene. She saw the person underneath whose life, whose autonomy, whose everything was stolen away from her. Hell, the wigs alone that are put on these girls and everything are basically, from my view at least, symbolic of them being presented and forced to present in a certain way to adhere to Herr Koenig's views on how these creatures should be. Because this woman's natural hair was all torn up and falling out and shit. And she had this long, beautiful wig on. And it's Herr Koenig wanted to present her in a certain way to what he believes these creatures should appear to be like. And it feels very representative of how in real life women are often forced and told to behave, act, dress, or look in certain ways to basically fit in, to basically be accepted. And in a lot of cases to be seen as, beautiful, worthwhile, or, valid in any real way towards the men in the world. There's definitely a lot of themes centering on, again, women's autonomy and women being victimized by men in this. And you could say, but the nurses and everything, the nurse, the doctor, they were women and stuff. And it's yeah, and women are often, manipulated into siding with this kind of stuff. They're gaslit and manipulated into not only siding with, but actively working towards this stuff. And do you know what happened to those women? Herr Koenig shot them and killed them once their usefulness was up. Once they were no longer useful to his goals, he killed them. Because they didn't matter to him anymore. Is that not damning, like, thematic commentary there? Like, come on. Yeah, I really like this movie. It was really well made, really well acted, directed, written. The dialogue was good. The themes were fantastic. I really liked this. It's not the best movie I've seen this year on the channel or whatnot, but it definitely deserves its flowers. It definitely deserves to be praised for everything it did. And again, if this movie just hasn't been getting a lot of attention, I feel really bad for the people who made this and put so much effort into it. And especially for the actors and actresses. Again, everyone I've heard mention it has liked it. I've heard great things, and I can see why. I really enjoyed this. But other movies are just getting so much more attention, the really big name Hollywood movies. And I feel like movies like this that have a lot to say and that just put so much effort in. And sorry for the constantly changing lights, by the way. The lighting outside, the natural lighting, is changing progressively. And this webcam has dynamic lighting changes, so sorry about that. Cloud cover does weird things with the lighting in here. um, but yeah, I really like this one, and I just wish that more people were talking about it. And maybe more are talking about it than I even realize, and hopefully that's the case. But I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think of Cuckoo? Let me know down in the comments below. What did you think of the themes, the messages, the ideals? What did you think of the acting, the writing, the directing? Let me know all your thoughts. Did you find it scary to any degree? Let me know. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.